on number one, you should be able to tell me what the equations of all the graphs are, not just what the answer is. Okay, first of all, the question says plus 3. So, and you're memorizing that opposite underneath, and it's up and down on the outside of the square root. Still have people getting that confused. So the one that does the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. This would be negative 3 that way. My graph's going negative 3 that way and down 7. So if I look at these pictures here, even if I didn't know the negative 3 part, which one goes down 7? Yes, Mario. D. So this is down 7 and back 3. Okay, well, you should be able to tell me what the equation of this line is. What this line is here. So what is this one, Stephen? That is correct. So notice how it's trying to trick you by doing the opposite on the out and regular on the inside. Actually, the inside, they didn't try to trick you on the inside. They tried to say, well, both of them are opposites. They're not. In is opposite, out is regular. If you don't understand what I'm saying, you keep saying in is opposite, then ask me, I'll try to explain it a different way. Moving to this one here, you should be able to tell me generally what the graph of this is, or the equation of this graph is. It's a square root because it's got the whoosh or the puma sign. It goes down how much? Well, about 3, right? Down 3. The up and down go on the outside. So this graph here would be down 3 on the outside. The square root looks like it's shifted also, and it shifted 7 this way. So I'm going to do x minus 7 underneath the square root. Okay, this question here, now we didn't do ones that flipped over. That's your first hint. Y equals negative flips it over. It shifted 3 that way, so radical x plus 3, and it shifted up 7 plus 7. So this has that negative sign out front to flip it over. We didn't go over that, but you should know that that's not one to pick. So, studying for the test, you should be able to not only get the right answer here, but figure out which graphs are, what the equations of the other graphs are. Wording. It's a triangle. If it was asking for the hypotenuse and it gave you 2 other sides, you'd use Pythagorean theorem, but it gives you an angle and 2 sides. Looking from this direction, Xavier, what is this?
That is the opposite.
It's the opposite. What is this here? Adjacent.
So it'd be tangent.
So you should have this memorized. You should not be struggling to memorize or to figure this out tomorrow. It should be automatic. Okay? I'm not going to wait for you to tie your shoes because the game has already started. So I'm going to take Noah, and you automatically are going to write this. Don't just go to your calculator and start punching in values. Write the tangent. Put the angle measurement there. And do. Now, I had problems with this yesterday. Kids didn't understand the O and the A meant O over A. Tangent is O over A. O is X. A is 8. X is on top, multiply, and stop. 2 birds with 1 stone there. Okay, so multiply to get your answer and stop. What'd you get for an answer? What do you got? Can somebody confirm that? Okay. 7.7. Yes, Xavier.
I got that, but all I did was put tangent and 44 parentheses times.
Right. Multiply and stop.
Okay.
The issue is when you put down 17.7 and you have no work shown, and you show me you don't even know it's tangent. I don't know if you put tangent or log or whatever on your calculator. You don't know that it's opposite. I can't give you partial credit. That's where the work showing comes in. If you choose not to show your work and go with the answer, you're going to get points off. You're taking a risk. Yes, even if you look on your neighbor's paper, write the answer down that they have, it's still going to be your points off. You need to show that you know how to do it. Yes, Mario. Yes. Okay, looking at this one here, I'm looking from this direction here. I have, what's X? Yes, Robert. And what's A? Or 6 is adjacent. Which one am I using? Yes, Robert. Cosine. So you write COS. You write the degree measurement. And you write a fraction, and it's A over H. It's 6 over X. X is on the bottom. Divide by a lot of stuff. Divide by the SOHCAHTOA, basically. If X is on top, you multiply by whatever you get from SOHCAHTOA. If X is on the bottom, you divide by this. So it's almost like you're taking this and putting it down here and to get your answer. That's why the setup is helpful. Number 4. Suppose you live 4.4 miles from a hill and you have a house. So there's a hill here and you have a house. And there's a plane from the house. You see a plane directly above the hill. Your angle of elevation to the plane is 26 degrees. What is the plane's altitude? So you live 4.4 miles away. You're looking up at a 26-degree angle. You want to find the opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse of this question. Yes, Robert? You want to find the opposite. You have O and A. You're going to use TOA. And you're going to write it out. The tangent of 26 degrees equals the opposite x over 4.4. At this point, you can use your calculator and multiply these two numbers together. And what did you get for an answer, Anna? 2 what? 2.1 miles. Okay. That sounds reasonable. Okay. It's in miles. Now these are yes, these are word problems. You should define x as in the height of the plane. Okay, so let's put that on here. X equals the height. We'll just put height. Hold on. Yes. Joe.
Are we gonna need to do 5 on the test?
Well, this one here, you just define the variable. You write your answer in miles. Label your answer. Okay, so you can, Joe. All right, but if you don't label your miles, you're gonna get points off. Okay. Thanks. What's your question? How do you make feet into miles? Okay, this question is all in miles. It doesn't say anything about feet, right? If you did, you would use 5 tomatoes. 5280 feet equal 1 mile. So if I had 2.2 mile or 2.1 miles, I would multiply that by 5280. So 2.1 miles. And we want to multiply it by we want to get rid of the miles, so I'm going to put 1 mile on the bottom is to 5280 feet. So when I multiply this together, the miles cancel and I'm left with feet, and I just multiply those two together. You get 528. So number 5. Again, if you got this, then work on the worksheet. If you need something else to do, you can sit in the back of the room and work on it quietly. No. Number 5. We're in the hallway. Number 5. Arrange your spots of forest fire while on a 35-meter observation tower. So start drawing. The angle of depression from the tower to the fire is 14 degrees. You got to realize the fire is out here somewhere. So it makes a right triangle. This is the angle of depression up here. However, it comes down because of alternate interior angles are congruent. The 14 comes down to here. Okay, so you want to know how far is the fire from the base of the tower. You want to know this value here. Okay, so we solve it. Which one are you going to use for this? Yeah. Okay, well, looking from 14, this is the adjacent hypotenuse or opposite. Opposite. This is the adjacent. You have O and A. You're going to use tangent. So tangent of 14 degrees equals opposite 35 over x. X is on the bottom. Divide to get your angle. Okay, moving along here. Find the tangent of B. We have tangent of B. You're looking from B's perspective. So across from B is the opposite, and the 7 is the adjacent. You're looking for the tangent. You're looking for TOA. So you want the opposite over the adjacent, and that's going to be 24 over 7. That's the tangent of B. The tangent of A would be the flip of that. So that's just for the tangent of B. Number 7, our questions are good. Number 7, do the division right away, and you get the square root of 16 equals 4. You could do this on your calculator if you use the parentheses and you get 4. However, might not be that easy tomorrow, yes.
I thought you just square root everything, and then if it doesn't come out evenly, you just leave the same.
Well, it does come out evenly. If you break down the 80, it'll have a 5 in it. 80 is 5 times 16.
But on the quiz, I had a problem like that, and you said you take it off.
I'd have to see it, but I don't remember. Okay, so looking at this one here, you just combine. These can be combined because they have like bases. Negative radical 3. Going to number 9. Number 9 is 5 times radical 2 plus 3 times radical 32. That's what it's saying. Okay, well, this can be broken down so it has a radical 2 base to it. So radical 32 is really 2 times 16, which is 4 radical 2. So this could now be written as 5 times radical 2 plus 3 times 4 times radical 2, which is really 12 radical 2, which turns into 17. Yes, 17 radical 2. Okay, number 10. Joe, what did you get for 10?
For number 10, I got...
You didn't do it.
No, I did it, but...
What'd you get?
I really think I got it wrong.
What'd you get?
In radical n.
What'd you get?
I just subtracted
Radical N. Radical N.
because I didn't know what to do.
Okay, that doesn't make much sense. But,
You just subtracted the 3. Yeah.
okay, so radical N is not right. Would you? Anybody else get an answer? What'd you get, Mario? No solution or zero. It's got to be one or the other. If we subtract 3 from both sides, you get 0 equals radical N. What do we do at this point? Yeah. Square it. If we square both sides, you get 0 equals N. So now we're going to check it. Is 3 equal to radical 0 plus 3? Radical 0 is 0. 3 equals 3. It checks. So N is 0. All right, don't worry, no solution. Okay, 0. Okay, moving to 11. The radical's already by itself. What do? These ones, the radical's by itself, square it. If I square this side, I get what?
W equals -1.
And I square the other side, 64. Okay, what number minus 1 is 64? 65. Does it check? Well, let's see. Radical 65 minus 1 equals 8. Radical 64 equals 8. That's going to check. Okay, again, these are very doable. If the square root's by itself, square both sides. Number 12. Radicals are alone. Square both sides. I square both sides to get what's underneath the radical sign.
Combine like terms.
Okay, combine like terms. Get x on one side, numbers on the other. So bring the 3x over this way. Minus 3x, minus 3x. My new problem is going to be, I'll write it over here. My new problem is going to be x plus 4 equals 8. Subtract 4. I got x equals 4. But does it check? Okay, it does check because, well, you got to show the check tomorrow, so let me show it for you. Oops. You have to show the check tomorrow. So, Chad, I'm showing the check. This is 16 plus 3 is radical 19. That doesn't sound right. Oh, it's plus 4. That's radical 20. And then 12 plus 8 is radical 20 also. It checks. So what's my answer? N equals 4. Give me a second to write it down if you can get that. Okay, moving to 13, which is probably the hardest question for people to do, or one of the hardest questions. Okay, the square root is by itself, so you can square both sides. So the first step is to square both sides. I'll get x squared equals negative 4x plus 32. Okay, now we're going to move. We're going to move to standard form. In order to do that, we keep the x squared on one side and add the 4x and subtract the 32 equals 0. So we cross the line, change the sign. Again, that should not be, how did the signs change? Cross the line, change the sign. Anything that moves across the equal sign has to be, if it's done by moving, you subtract when you're adding and add when you subtract. If it's done by division multiplication, you're multiplying, you divide, you multiply. Yes.
So when it's like a square root on one side, a square root on the one side, and then you try to
whenever there's a square root alone, you square both sides. When you square both sides, it gets rid of the radical sign, yes. Just like if I square 2, or radical 2, I would get radical 2 times radical 2, which we did need radical 4, but we don't do that. We just go right to 2. So the same thing happens here. When I square this cancels out, and you're left with what's underneath. However, there's no square root on this side, so you have to square the x. Go into the chart. The first shall be last. Okay? Oops.
What do you mean by the first will be last?
The last shall be first, I should say. You're right. So the last number goes here, and the middle number goes here, and this is multiply and add. So let me rewrite that chart so it's a little less confusing. So you're going to go, the third step, once you move it over to standard form and go into your chart, the last goes here, and the middle goes here, and you're multiplying to add, and adding up to the middle. Some people forget that and reverse it. So on my chart, I'm going to negative 32. The last number is first, adds up to the middle number. Factors of 32 that add up to 4 are 8 and 4. And what has to be, it has to be positive 4. So what's positive, what's negative? 8 positive, 4 is negative. Okay, now, that's my chart. That's great. But the answer to the question is which is the fourth step, is the opposite of the chart. So, right. So your answer is what did I say? Negative 8, positive 4. Now, the fifth step is to check it. Okay? The negative 8 won't check. So does this equal each other? You'll get negative 8 equals radical 64. That won't check. The other one you'll get 4 equals radical 16, and that one does check. So that's what you need to show tomorrow. Write this down, because people do not remember how to do the steps here. When you get a question like this, square both sides. And this works for just about all the questions here, except you don't have to do this. The third step isn't necessary if x is a linear term or x is to the first power. So when you square both sides and produce an x squared, you have to use the chart. Whereas when we squared both sides up here, we didn't have to use the chart. Or at 11. Number 14, put in your calculator and get an answer. All right, I'll wait for a second. Looking at number 15. Okay, you have to know that this can be changed to a fraction. Which turns into 3 times 1 over 5, like this. Okay, and that comes back to 3 over radical 5. I'm sorry, 4. I'm looking at my bed. Not 3, sorry. I'm too worried about people talking over here and not getting how to do this, and then have to explain why they don't understand this because they're not listening. So 4 over radical 5. So this is an answer, but it's not the right answer. What's wrong with this picture?
It's a radical on the bottom.
Radical's on the bottom. To get rid of the radical off the bottom, multiply by radical 5 on top and the bottom. And you're left with 4 radical 5 over what? Yes, Mario. 5. Thank you. That's your final answer. I'll give you a second to copy it.